Hey guys, Dr. Shook here. Hope you're doing well. Take a look at this. I've got just one or two things I need to grab before we get started. But just take a look at this. This is what we're going to talk about. This is actually building on what I talked about in the last two Facebook Live videos that I did. So this is really, really important because this topic and what we're going to cover here is really going to go into really how bacterial infections can affect your body's ability to actually produce and utilize thyroid hormone, even if you're not technically hypothyroid, even if you don't have Hashimoto's. This can affect your thyroid hormone physiology. So take a look at this, guys. Take a screenshot with your phone so you can save this, or either take a you can always come back and watch the video. But if you want to have this so you can take notes or whatever, just do a screenshot. And anyway, take a look. I'll be right back, and we'll get started. Okay. Be right back, guys. Okay, you guys ready to get started? Okay, so this builds on the past two Facebook Live videos that I did. It's a really important topic because everything that I've talked about with leaky gut, and then talking about how bacteria can trigger an immune response, is really important when we're talking about your thyroid hormone physiology. So what I want to do with this video is kind of build on what we've talked about and show you exactly how this type of problem, which, keep this in mind guys, what we're going to talk about here can cause you to have hypothyroid symptoms and actually have suboptimal thyroid hormone levels, causing you to basically feel like you're hypothyroid, but your tests look normal. Okay? And this is even if you don't have Hashimoto's, so you don't have to be autoimmune to have this. You also don't have to be technically hypothyroid. This can affect you and your labs look, normal, right? But you still don't feel well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to you about what this is, the mechanism, what happens that causes your thyroid to dysfunction, what it looks like on labs, and then some of the thought processes behind how you can kind of work through it. How would you fix it? Okay? So you guys ready? Now guys, keep in mind, I cannot see you because in order for text to show up so that you can read it, I can't face the screen towards me. So I'm looking at the back of an iPad right now. All right, so I can't see if there's anyone on here. So as usual, hopefully there are some people here. But please do post comments because maybe it just depends on how much time I have. Maybe I can take some questions when we're done. But please do post comments. Let me know. Let me know what you're thinking about. What kind of questions you have about this, because if I can't answer them now, my staff and I will try to go back and give you guys some resources to look at or give you some guidance, okay? So please do post your questions as we go. Also, guys, tell me, share with me where you're from. I love to see where you guys are from. After the videos are done and everything, no one really I don't. It doesn't have the same effect. I just like to know where people are from. So just put in there where you're from, and then again, if you have any questions, post them in there, guys. Please share this type of information. You guys can go and look at all of our Facebook Live videos, all the videos that we've recorded and done. But guys, this is the kind of information that people need, because there are people suffering that have no idea that bacteria in their gut could be causing them this process that's causing them basically to feel like they have low thyroid function, and everyone's telling them they're normal. And you guys, so many of you, I know you've experienced this because I've worked with a lot of you, and I've just heard the outpouring of people. They don't feel well, they're taking medications, something's still not right, but they don't know what it is, right? That's exactly what I'm going to try and cover with you guys in every single video, is like uncovering the things that drive this. And this is a really, really common one. So that's why I want to talk about it. So guys, please do share the video with people. Please give us some thumbs up and some love too, if you don't mind. So that way it kind of keeps me motivated too. I get on there and I'm like, oh look, people are actually interacting with me to some degree. So anyway, enough about me and this stuff, and let's talk about like what's going on here. So the last few videos I did were on leaky gut, what leaky gut is, and also this idea I talked about in the one yesterday about this very potent immune system stimulating compound called lipopolysaccharides. Okay, it's a big word, but basically it's just this stuff, okay, that's on the outside of a certain type of cell, a certain type of bacterial cell that's gram negative. Now typically we group our bacteria into gram positive, which are typically more of the less pathogenic, or the ones that are not harmful to us, and gram negative, which tend to be more pathogenic. Okay? Now the gram negative bacteria, on the outside of those bacteria, they have this stuff called lipopolysaccharides, and they release it, and it's a very, very potent immune stimulating compound. Like there's a lot of literature that's been done on it, and I'm going to talk to you guys about some of the effects of it. But we're gonna go through, and really what we're going to do is we're going to look at how gut bacteria, and in particular these things called lipopolysaccharides, how they affect your thyroid function. Okay, so our story goes like this: if you have bacteria, gram-negative bacteria overgrowth in your gut, okay, and let's say you have to have the bacteria, plus you have to have a leaky gut. Now, if you saw my video yesterday, I kind of drew out the leaky gut, and I explained that the gut wall, the intestinal lining, is one cell thick. Okay, so if this is the GI tract lining here, this is the intestinal tract. So if we're looking down the tube of the intestinal tract, there's a lining, and that lining keeps all the stuff inside the digestive tract that's supposed to be inside, and only lets certain things selectively through the wall into the bloodstream. Okay, that's what I talked about yesterday, and I talked about how the gut wall, how that cell wall, and that barrier, it's actually a barrier that keeps things in the digestive tract that should be there. It keeps them, how it can break down, and the different ways it can break down. So here I've just kind of done this. I drew this. These represent the intestinal lining. It represents, these are the cells. Okay, the cells, that one cell wall thick wall. Over here, these are things in the GI tract. Over here, these are things in the bloodstream. Okay. So if you have a leaky gut, and remember, yesterday I talked all about leaky gut, so please look at that video because I don't want to spend as much time talking about what causes leaky gut. We talked about causes of leaky gut, some of the ways that we could work it up and determine what leaky gut is. So please check out the live video. It's on our page here. You can rewatch it, and I talked about how that occurs. So in this scenario, you have let's say you have gram-negative bacteria that's here in the gut. These gram-negative bacteria, they release these things called, they're endotoxins. Okay, so just basically it's a toxin, and they're for short we're going to call it, and we're going to just use the abbreviation of LPS, lipopolysaccharides. Okay, these lipopolysaccharides, if they cross through, so this is inside the digestive tract here, right? If they cross through this barrier system and they get into the bloodstream, these lipopolysaccharides, they're going to trigger an immune system response. Okay, it's really, really important to know. These lipopolysaccharides are extremely, they're very potent and very inflammatory. So I talked about lipopolysaccharides yesterday, how we can test for them, And I'll kind of reiterate that here at the end a little bit too. So if these get into the bloodstream, what happens, right? What happens? Well, it triggers an immune response. And now, guys, remember, this happens in people that are not autoimmune. So these mechanisms we're going to talk about can be happening to you if you're like, well, I was checked for Hashimoto's and I don't have that, and my labs are normal. My thyroid labs are normal, so I don't know what's wrong. It's not my thyroid. Well, you're right. It's probably another physiological process. That's why it's hard whenever I'm teaching this stuff, or when people are asking me questions. They're like, hey, what do I do? You told me all about these problems, but you didn't tell me anything to do. And guys, it's so complex. What's happening to you is unique, and there's hundreds of different ways that your physiology could be breaking down, and that these problems that could manifest in fatigue or inability to lose weight or hair loss or all these different problems that we very commonly see with hypothyroidism or hypothyroid symptoms. All these different drivers could be occurring. So for me to give you and tell you what to do about it, it's really difficult because there's not. It's really how you address these problems. If you're going to do trial and error stuff, you always try to start with diet. But if you have, like for example here, if you have a bacteria that's causing this to occur, you have to get rid of the bacteria. And you don't know you have the bacteria unless you do a test to determine that the bacteria is there. Okay? But if you're going to do something in general, you're going to try something more like dietary changes that are going to be more whole food based. Right? More nutrient dense, get all the artificial, all the processed foods out. But all these things, that's why this approach is really, you investigate what's happening with the person, with labs and their health history, and you look and see if those make sense. If they make sense and you feel comfortable formulating a plan, then you formulate a plan and see how the person responds to it. You address and support what you find for the individual. You don't just say, well, this is, I hope that makes sense. I could go on and on about methodologies of workup, and I'm going to talk about that some as we go. I'm going to try to give you guys as much as I can to help you figure this out. But there are prioritizations to working up these problems. You don't just jump right into, oh, I need to find out if I have a bacteria in my gut. No, I would encourage looking for inflammation first on blood draw, like a standard blood draw you can get done like at LabCorp. Look for inflammation. Look for anemia. Look for blood sugar dysregulation. Look for elevated liver enzymes. Look for vitamin D deficiencies. Look at the thyroid hormones inside and out, and then from that information and your history, what's happening with you, figure out where the next logical place to go is. So if that's a stool panel, we're going to talk about the testing. That's how you do it. You don't really jump ahead. So many people say, "Hey, I want the food sensitivities you talked about." I'm like, no. If you haven't done some of this foundational stuff first, you're getting way ahead of yourself, and you will waste time and money. Okay, so just bear with me, okay? So, bacteria, gram-negative bacteria in the digestive tract release lipopolysaccharides, which are toxins. If there's a leaky gut, they could be the cause, but there's a lot of causes of leaky gut, which you can go back to our previous video done yesterday, Facebook Live video, it's on our page, and I'll explain leaky gut. They can go through the gut wall into the bloodstream, where the immune system is constantly monitoring things, right? The immune system sees these lipopolysaccharides. The lipopolysaccharides actually attach themselves to, I don't want to be too technical, but they attach themselves to receptors, and that stimulates the immune response. And so there's a strong immune response. And so what does this immune response do? Well, I've written it out for you guys if you've already read ahead, right? So 4 primary things that we'll see happen. So number 1, T3 receptor sensitivity goes down. Okay, so you guys, if you've seen my other whiteboard video, the one that's probably has like 3 million views or so, I talk a lot about brain to cell, how the thyroid hormone's made, how it's signaled by the brain, how it's made, how it's transported, how your T4 which is the primary hormone made by your thyroid, is converted into T3, which is the physiologically active hormone. It's the one that stimulates the cells the most strongly. It's the one we look at for physiological stimulation and activity. Well, you have every cell in your body, every single cell from your head to your toe, every cell has receptors for the T3. So the hormones in circulation, your thyroid hormones in circulation, for your body to get the benefit of the thyroid hormone, the T3 that's in your blood has to attach to a receptor. It's like a little docking station on the cells of your body that stimulate the cell's metabolism. Okay? These receptors, if you have high, I swapped half of it off. If you have a high level of inflammation in the body, and in particular, lipopolysaccharides are great at this, and there's research that shows this exact stuff here, okay? If you have high lipopolysaccharides, this can decrease, now think about this is profound, guys, decrease the sensitivity of those receptors to the thyroid hormone in circulation by 60 to 70%. So you think about this. You've got all this thyroid hormone in your bloodstream. You look at your labs and you're like, okay, everything's great. I've got my T3's normal, my free T3's good. I'm good. Everything should be wonderful. But no one's checking inflammation. And even if they are checking inflammation, it's not always some of the inflammatory markers like C-reactive protein and homocysteine. They don't necessarily tell you about the inflammation that's produced here by lipopolysaccharides, which is typically an increase in immune system proteins called cytokines. Okay, well, I don't want to be too technical, but here's the main thing. This can cause you to have a very significant decrease in sensitivity to your T3. So it's like only half of it, or more than half, isn't even stimulating the cell properly. So how do you address that? Well, what you do is you have to know that there's lipopolysaccharides causing this immune response, so you have to do testing, which we're going to talk about, like a framework of thinking about this. All right, so T3 receptors, guys, and remember, like I can't see you, so I can't interact with you. I'll try after we're finished, if it's not too late, to go through, try to answer some questions that I see. But so just know I'm not ignoring you. So the second thing is this inflammatory, the inflammatory response by the immune system to these lipopolysaccharides can also decrease your T3 levels. Okay, so if you look at someone's labs and you see that they have normal T4, which is the primary hormone produced by the thyroid, but their T3 is lower, then one of the reasons that this can occur is this inflammatory response decreases an enzyme that's in the peripheral tissue, so it means the liver and outside of the liver, decreases an enzyme that converts your T4 to T3. Okay, so basically it impairs and it decreases your efficiency of T4 to T3 conversion, can cause low T3. Okay, guess what else it does? It increases reverse T3. Now, guys, I think I did a whole live video on reverse T3. So if you scroll down, if you go to our page, the Office of Dr. Brad Shook, you can scroll down, and it's probably a few videos ago, a few live streams ago, but you'll still see it. It's still there, and I believe I talk about all about reverse T3. I know I've done videos on reverse T3, so you can look it up. The main thing you need to know about reverse T3 is like a brake. It's an inactive form of thyroid hormone. Okay, it is produced normally in normal physiology inside the liver. Some of your thyroid hormone, some of your T4 that's converted in the liver goes into reverse T3 normally. Okay, so about 20% of it. But what this does is this increases reverse T3 conversion. So, and here's the problem with reverse T3. If you have very high reverse T3, it will literally attach itself to the cells of your body, blocking your T3 from attaching. Reverse T3 is inactive, guys. It's kind of like, if you want to think about it, T3 is active and stimulates the cell. Reverse T3 is completely inactive and just, I don't know if it's completely inactive, but I know it has a very, very significant decrease in activity. And when it attaches itself, it's a much, it's like the brake. Okay, just think of it this way. It slows everything down. T3 speeds it up. If you have too much reverse T3, you're going to like block your T3 from being able to be used. So consider this. We've got this high inflammatory load. We have decreased receptor sensitivity, which you can't really test for that, guys, but we just know from the literature, scientific literature, that this is a reality. There were two different studies that I was reading in some of my notes that talked about this exact thing. Okay, so you have less sensitivity to the T3 already. Then you're producing more reverse T3, which is binding to it, further decreasing your body's ability to use your thyroid hormone. So how do you think you're going to feel? Probably not too good, right? I mean, in all reality. Now, the other thing is that it's been shown to decrease TSH. Now, remember, if you guys remember, again, go back to my whiteboard video where I talk about the brain and how the brain signals the thyroid, right? The brain signals the thyroid to make thyroid hormone by producing TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone. And that's actually the pituitary gland right here between your eyes, produces TSH, and TSH's job is to stimulate the thyroid to make more T4 and T3. Okay? So one of the things, think about this. What if you needed more TSH to signal the gland to make more hormone? If something like this could actually cause you to have a decreased ability to produce thyroid-stimulating hormone. So your thyroid-stimulating hormone, usually when it's looked at, clinically in a clinical setting, TSH is low, then your doctors typically think your thyroid hormone levels are high, right? And a lot of times TSH is the only marker checked. So what if you go to your doctor and you're not feeling well, and you're like, I don't feel good, and they're like, and you say, I think it's my thyroid. And they pull the TSH, and your TSH is lower, it's within the normal range, but it's lower, and they're like, well, your thyroid looks great. That's not the complete picture, is it? So the thing is that this is really important. I mean, think about all the different ways that this inflammatory compound, these lipopolysaccharides, can really wreak havoc on your thyroid physiology. And guys, you don't even have to be technically hypothyroid, and you don't have to have Hashimoto's. A lot of the people that I see and that I work with, I mean, the majority of people, I would say that inflammation is going to be the number one thing that I find is causing people to not feel well. Either through lipopolysaccharides or food sensitivities or some kind of chemical reactivity, we're finding it, okay? And that's the driver of it. It's not necessarily these quantities of the hormone. I mean, most people that come to me, they've been worked up. They've been worked up. They've been to their doctor. They've been to endocrinologists. They've been through it all, and they're just like, I don't know what to do. I saw a video of yours on Facebook, so I thought I would give you a try. It's kind of like, oh, okay, thanks. No, I sincerely am. I understand, guys. You go through the methods and the modes of care that you're familiar with and that you think are supposed to help you, right? And listen, your primary care physicians and your endocrinologists, and they help a ton of people. So thankful for those people to have them as a good, part of a good team. We're so thankful for that. So don't be too frustrated with them. They may not know this stuff, and that's okay. I don't know a lot of the things that they know. Okay. All right. So I have had too much coffee. If I get choked here, guys, don't laugh. No, I'm fighting off this respiratory thing. If you guys can't tell, I'm a little bit nasally. Man, it was just like a month ago I had this respiratory cold that went on forever, and now my kids, I have a 3 and a 7-year-old, they come home, runny noses, they're better in like 3 days, and then here I am like a week later. So sorry if I'm like choking. Anyway, all right, let's kind of go back through it real quick, and then let's talk about what you can do, okay? All right, so gram-negative bacteria in the digestive tract release toxins, which are lipopolysaccharides. If your gut is leaky, which can be caused by a lot of different things, including bacteria in the gut, including autoimmune conditions, including things that are in our food, right? All these different things, chemicals, all these different things can cause this thinning of the gut wall, letting larger molecules and things through into the bloodstream. If these lipopolysaccharides get into the bloodstream, they trigger a very potent immune response. Now, this immune response can do a lot of things to our thyroid hormone physiology that's very hard to detect on testing, actually, okay? Because these are not like lab low or lab high findings necessarily, guys. These are things that are outside of optimal ranges, and you have to kind of correlate it with like what you see clinically in their history. So it can decrease the sensitivity of your cells to your thyroid hormone. It can lower the actual T3 level because you don't convert your T4 to T3 well. It can increase your reverse T3 levels, which literally block the sensitivity of your body to the thyroid hormone, the active hormone T3. And it can even lower your TSH, which, guys, you need TSH. It's made by the brain to stimulate the thyroid to make more hormone. Okay, got it? All right, let's go to like what do we do, right? So what can you do here? Guys, the reason this is a framework, and this is not like this, do this, is because every single one of you are going to have different causes of like leaky gut or permeability. So you can't just say you do this, or take these vitamins. If I told you to take a bunch of leaky gut supplements, would that really help you? Well, I mean, here's the thing. It might help you, but is it addressing if you have bacterial overgrowth or there's something else that's causing this? Is that really the answer? So I don't want to just practice, what we call like green medicine, where I just tell you supplements for a symptom or a problem. Like if I don't know, it's more complicated than that. So I want you to know, I'm going to give you a framework. So identify the causes of leaky gut, number 1. So we talked about in yesterday's Facebook Live video. So guys, go back and watch it. We talked about leaky gut, which is what this represents, the cell wall, the one cell wall thick barrier. Look at the testing I talked about. Typically, that's going to be Cyrix Laboratories in my office. Cyrix Laboratories testing and maybe some other labs. Now, the Cyrix testing I would do for leaky gut, the first test would be Cyrix Labs Array 2. Array 2 is going to be the intestinal permeability and antigen screen. I don't think I got the name right. They're a little confusing. They're just longer names. But anyway, Cyrix Array 2 is how I'm usually going to evaluate this, and it will even tell you a little bit about lipopolysaccharides, okay? Now, I might go there, and then depending on the history, that's going to dictate what test I would order, right? That's really going to dictate the test, depending on the history and depending on other labs. So what I mentioned, in the middle of the talk, inflammatory markers. Are you anemic? Is your blood sugar dysregulation? Are your liver enzymes elevated? Do you have symptoms of GI tract dysfunction? What do your thyroid hormones look like? What's your vitamin D level? All these things, what is your iron status? All these things are going to help me put together a picture to determine what labs you might need to have done or you might want to consider, or what's driving it. Sometimes the other labs can be very helpful in figuring that out. So, guys, identify what's going on so that you can formulate a plan that makes sense. Number 2, remove the causes. It's obvious enough, right? You figure out what's going on. Do your best to remove the causes. So you remove it from your body. If it's foods you're reacting to, you remove those from your diet for 6 months. If it's bacteria or viral infections or parasitic or fungal infections, you do your best to kill those, to calm down the immune system so that this gut wall can heal and so that your body, you can decrease inflammation and the physiology can improve. You remove the causes. You address the causes. If your hormones are imbalanced, then you look at why is that, right? And that usually comes back, listen, guys, if you have hormonal imbalances, testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, cortisol, it typically comes back to diet in a lot of cases, okay? There can be autoimmunity, but it usually comes back to something else that's driving that's affecting your adrenal gland function, that's causing impairment with the hormone production. I mean, that's the most common. There's a lot of reasons, but that's the most common. Remove the causes, identify the causes, and then repair the damage. Do the best that you can to support the physiology, to optimize the healing of the body, and really help the person. And I'm going to tell you guys, people are like, well, so how long does this take? It varies. Some people, you can just do one thing and change diet with them, and you would think you did something miraculous in 1 month. And that's awesome, because that's where you should all start, especially if you don't have the means to work with someone to get some of this stuff done. You definitely start with diet, guys. I mean, you need to see your doctor if you have some kind of condition or problem that's bothering you, something that's happening. You need to be evaluated at least there. But something that you can do on your own with some of these things is you start with diet. So you guys know I'm a big fan of autoimmune paleo diets. Those are very good diets, but there's a lot of diets, guys. People can do. It's really what is the best diet for you? It's like people ask me about what's the best thyroid hormone? Well, I mean, I don't prescribe hormones. I don't prescribe thyroid hormones, but it's whatever's best for your physiological problem. And so, unless I know what your mix of problems are, I can't even give you any kind of idea, right? So that's really important to understand is that you have to focus on repairing the damage and addressing the cause, right? That's where you hear about people talking about root cause. Well, that's what we're talking about here is root drivers of the process. And repairing the damage, seriously guys, a year is not unreasonable for you to stay on course and continuously work on improving your health and continue to see improvement, because all of this stuff, basically what it comes down to is that it damages your body's ability to produce energy, and it damages the mitochondria. It's part of your cell that produces energy. So the more inflammation and the more thyroid dysfunction you have, what that does is that damages the mitochondria, and the term for it is called uncoupled. Right? They don't function well. They don't produce the energy molecule ATP. And so if they're uncoupled, then how long does it take for them to repair? A long time, right? The more work that you do, starting with diet is a good way to start decreasing inflammation, improve nutrient density, improve so many different physiological processes just through diet. Is a very good thing to do, and that's a good way to start helping the mitochondria heal. so that you can produce more energy and have a higher metabolism and feel better. But the reality is that, you know, my rule of thumb is about 1 month, people should start seeing some difference. If you're not seeing any difference in 1 month, then we're probably not addressing the right mechanism, and you need to further identify the cause of what's driving, not necessarily leaky gut, but research the causes, because I can't predict the future, right? I can't do that. What I can do is just look the best that I can at what information I have, what we're able to utilize, and then try to put together a plan to help people. And that's the best you can do, guys. And so if you're not seeing improvement at all within a month of some kind of intervention, then guys, you're probably not on the right process. You're not on the right mechanism or the right cause, the right cause here. So you need to do some testing to identify the cause, so you can work to remove it or support it, however that might be. And then that repair process can take, again, 6 months is completely reasonable. 12 months and even 18 months. It's not unreasonable. And that doesn't mean you have to work with someone that long, but it means that you have to make being healthy a lifestyle. Right? Now I kind of get back to, like, all this is great information, but you have to be determined to be healthy. You have to make your health a priority. You can't compromise. You have to say, and you have to ask yourself some questions. Do you really want to be healthy? Do you really want to be healthy? Because if you really want to be healthy, then when someone says, or I say, okay, cut out all these different foods, take supplements for a short period of time. You guys know I'm not an advocate of, like, long-term specialized diets or long-term supplementation. I'm not. But those are great tools that I always use to help repair the damage. So you have to ask yourself if you're willing to do that. And if you're not willing to do that, you're not. The model that I have, anyway, and what I try to teach, I don't know how to help you. And I mean, I would love to help you another way. And believe me, no one really is excited about going, like, on an autoimmune paleo diet. No one is just so excited that they're eating, those foods. But I will tell you, once you do it, and if you start feeling better, you will never go back, because we're all in different places, guys. Some people can't get out of bed. They have no energy. Other people, they're like, I think I'm okay, but I would like to do a little bit better. So there's different levels of motivation. The person that's in bed would give anything to be healthy. The person that feels okay, they're not that motivated. They're not going to be willing to change. Usually, what's our greatest motivator as people? Pain. Right? So if you're not hurting enough, or if it's not affecting you in your life enough, then you're probably not going to be motivated enough to make the changes that need to be made to be healthy. So I just want to share that with you guys, because that's part of, like, helping people with these problems. It's like actually looking at, like, their motivation levels, helping them kind of understand what it takes, trying to determine if they're going to be successful before they even know it. That's why I don't work with every single person that calls our office or that wants to work with us via distance consulting or whatever it might be. I don't do that, because I know that certain people, we get information in, and I look over their history, and I will talk to every one of them and say, look, if you're not willing to give up your sweet tea, your soda, your sticky bun and your donuts, if you're not willing to work on sleeping and reducing your stress, if you're not willing to stop smoking, if you're not willing to do some of these things that are obviously detrimental to your health, then there's no way I can help you. And I can't even accept that person as a distance consulting or as an in-office client. I can't do it, because I know that I can't get them better. So I hope that makes sense. Guys, you have to understand, and you have to, step one, before you do any of this stuff, step one is determining, like, why do I even care? Why do I want to be healthy? And I've talked about that plenty of times, so I won't, I won't repeat that over and over. But you have to have a very powerful reason why you want to be healthy. And, for a lot of people, it's kids, grandkids. There's lots of different reasons, And for me, too, it's like, whenever I think about that, I'm like, man, there's so many people that don't have the chance to do what I get to do today. How in the world can I give up and quit? When there are people that, people leave their house, they don't know that they might not be, they never know. Their life could be over that day, and they don't have an opportunity. So you guys think about this. You still have an opportunity in this life. And you owe it to yourself, you owe it to your community, to your family, to not quit. And that needs to hurt a little bit. You need to think about that, and that needs to make you kind of well up. It needs to make your heart beat a little heavy. Because I'm going to tell you what, I got friends and I got family that have passed away. They will never have the opportunity I have. So, all right. You guys good? I'm going to see if there's anyone with me. You probably all turned me off when I started lecturing. All right, I'm going to check out, see who's on here, okay? Hopefully this helps you out, guys. All right, guys, I'm going to move this. So it's going to zoom in just a little bit. Okay. Let's see. Flip the camera. Hey, what's going on, guys? Let's see here if I can't adjust this. See, I've got all these lights around me. Turn this one off. See how that does. A little bit better. So, okay, so we got a few people on here. You guys doing okay today? Let's see, where's this camera so I don't look like I'm looking away. You guys doing all right? Hi, Lily, how are you? Hey, Rachel, great to see you on here. I'm glad you could join me. So, let's see. Rose, how are you? Good to see you on here. Everybody, it seems like all my friends are here. There's Susie. I've seen you on here a whole lot, Susie. Really appreciate you guys. Jessica, thank you. I try to, part of what I do is also trying to help people find their motivation in some ways. It really is. You have to do that because this stuff isn't the easiest thing to do. You have to make lifestyle changes. It's not as easy as taking a pill. H. Pylori, hey. Is it Osman? I'm sorry, guys. I'm like terrible with names. So there's a question like H. Pylori. What do you think? Hey, guys. So H. pylori, yeah, H. pylori is a big problem. H. pylori will do a very similar thing. Like I check for H. pylori routinely because it's such a big problem. It's the most common bacterial infection in Europe. In Russia, there's actually, and it could be, this is just the one study that I know about, but in Russia, there's actually a huge issue with it, and it's something like, I can't remember, I could probably look up and find it, but something like 80% of the women there have H. pylori infections. And guys, H. pylori, if it's there for a prolonged period of time, guess what? It can actually contribute to like gastric carcinoma, so like cancer of the stomach. And so the other thing is that it's known to be cross-reactive with human tissues. So if you've got it and it gets into the bloodstream, the bacteria itself and part of the bacteria look a lot like human tissue, so it can cause cross-reactivity, meaning your immune system's attacking the H. pylori, but because it looks so much like some of your own tissues, the antibodies that you're making against the H. pylori might actually attach to your own tissues, causing your immune system to attack your body. That's called molecular mimicry and cross-reactivity. So that's one of the reasons we want to look for, whenever I talk about what drives autoimmunity, food proteins, partially digested food proteins, pathogens, different types of bacteria, viral infections, fungal infections, all these different things, parasitic infections, and then environmental chemicals. The reason that we look for all these things and that we want to know what's there is because we know that a lot of these pathogens have compounds, either they have proteins in their cell wall, kind of like we talked about lipopolysaccharides here, but they have they look a lot like your own tissues, let's put it that way. So they can contribute to what we think promotes and triggers the autoimmune response in the beginning, so in the first place. So you want to identify those things because obviously if you're exposed, your immune system's exposed to some kind of bacteria like H. pylori that looks like some of your own human tissues, that's not good because your immune system is going to be attacking the H. pylori, and it could, through this process of cross-reactivity, attack your own tissues, and the infection itself can promote the autoimmune process. Okay, so let's see. So I answered the question. There's an OMG there. Okay. So, all right. So hi from Australia. Hi, Jess. Hope you're doing well. Hi, Jessica. Is the breath test reliable for H. pylori? All right, so here's how I check H. pylori, guys. The first thing I like to start with is a blood test that looks for, so it's just like you can get it done at LabCorp or Quest in the United States. Most labs around the world are going to be able to do a serum, a blood test. But I always get, when we're looking at like immune system responses, there are different types of, you could basically say subdivisions of the immune system. just say that. But you guys may have heard me talk about immunoglobulins. That's what we're checking in the bloodstream. So like IgA, IgG, IgM. These are all different types of basically, let's just say, antibodies that we're looking at in the bloodstream. So when I'm looking at H. pylori, I like to start with a blood draw, and I like to look at IgG, IgA, and IgM antibodies against H. pylori. And it basically can tell you if there's like a more current, a recent infection, or one that is chronic, okay? So I like to look at that, and if you just get one of those, you might miss the fact that there's a chronic infection occurring, okay, or that there's an acute one. So I start with blood test. The breath test is H. pylori breath test is about what I recall is about 97% accurate. But listen, that's in the upper GI, so it's above, it's like stomach and above. Okay, now that's a second way that we can check. It may, because if you have it in your stomach, it may not test positive in the blood. If you have it in the digestive tract or in the lower GI, so below the stomach, that's where a stool test really comes into play. So there's 3 different ways we can check it. I like to start with blood, and especially if there's a history of it, then I might do a more in-depth analysis. So that's really, really important. Yeah, H. pylori is really important. Okay, so problem. Go back to normal. Yay, Stella. Stella says her ultrasound came back clean. So by dealing with the root cause, could I actually be free of this thyroid problem and go back to normal? That's, you know, some people, there are some people that if they don't have significant damage to their thyroid, maybe they will have the ability to have adequate production of thyroid hormone once their autoimmunity is dampened, or if they can dampen it. But here's the thing, guys. Regarding thyroid hormone, it's essential to life. It's definitely not something you want to be without. So don't worry. I mean, if that was something that I had to take, I don't have to take thyroid hormone. But if I had to take thyroid hormone, I would absolutely take it, just like insulin, right? If I had to take insulin, I would take insulin to keep my blood sugar low so it didn't destroy my organs. So there's possibility. Yeah, there's, you know, a lot of people come into this this world of like functional medicine and natural health, trying to improve their thyroid. And guys, they can come out. You can come out significantly better on the other side than you came in, or that you ever expected. Because really, you know, are we really treating the thyroid? I mean, not really. You're not treating anything. What you're doing is you're just supporting the body's physiology and the body's processes, physiological processes, to try and just have optimal health. And so when you do that, when you just support the things that you find, that's how you really get the body healthy. You don't go after a condition or look at just one number. You try to understand how the body works. So one of the things I try to do is be a better physiologist. And physiologists basically study physiology and how the body works. And I try to be a better physiologist so that I can understand these mechanisms, how the body's working, and understand better how that physiology is breaking down. Because if I can get that working better, I know it will have, you know, affect multiple systems at one time. So, for example, if we decrease inflammation here, look at all the things that it improves with your thyroid. Can you imagine? I know there are probably hundreds, if not thousands, of other things that this inflammation that we just talked about with these lipopolysaccharides affects in the body. So if you just improve the inflammation, there are all these other benefits that come. So I hope that helps. I appreciate the thumbs up and the hearts, guys. Lets me know you guys are here. Let's see. Vicky, you know, insomnia at some point. Yeah, I'll do a video on insomnia at some point. Really, one of the things thank you for the hearts and love, guys, and the love and the thumbs up. That's insomnia. Yeah, definitely insomnia. There's so many things that come into insomnia that come into play, especially with the thyroid. But you know, it depends if you're having problems going to sleep, or if you're having problems staying asleep, or both. I mean, there are a lot of different things that can happen. I see quite a bit where people are not they're not sleeping well. That's a very, very common complaint, but you know, it varies. There's different degrees of this, obviously. So some people can't go to sleep, and then other people can't stay asleep. So typically, if they can't go to sleep, they tend to have hyper or really high adrenal gland function. So something's driving their adrenal glands, and remember, the adrenal glands produce adrenaline, and the adrenaline itself might keep you awake. Okay. Now, if they can't stay asleep, then usually what's occurring there is when they're sleeping. When you sleep at night, your adrenal glands produce cortisol and adrenaline in small spurts that shouldn't wake you up. To really, the reason they do it is to raise your blood sugar, because at night you're fasting, right? You're not eating, so your blood sugar starts dropping, and the brain recruits the adrenal glands to make the cortisol and the adrenaline to raise blood sugar a little bit. It stimulates this process in your body called glycogenolysis. It breaks down glycogen, which is a stored form of sugar that's in your liver and muscles, and it puts it into the bloodstream so that it comes up, okay? So that process of raising the blood sugar is important to keep because your brain has to have sugar or ketones or something to keep the body functioning, right? So at night, if you can't stay asleep, it's usually because you don't have adequate adrenal function to produce those hormones to keep the blood sugar high, right? High enough so the brain can run the body. So what happens is you get hypoglycemic and you have a really strong response, and you produce a lot more adrenaline, and you wake up and you're wide awake. So usually when I see people that can't sleep well, that's usually low, like if they wake up in the middle of the night, that's usually low thyroid function, okay, low adrenal function, to where they don't have the capacity to actually make the adrenal hormones that they need to keep their blood sugar high enough as they're sleeping and fasting. I hope that helps. I'm trying not to elaborate too much on these guys, but give you enough, because I know there's a bunch of people with questions. So I'm trying to help out as much as I can. Pauline, flattery will get you everywhere. No, I'm just kidding. Pauline's being very complimentary here about saying I'm really smart. I don't listen, guys. I really sincerely do not think of myself as being that smart. You guys always give me all this credit, and I appreciate your confidence in me. It's not that I just have learned from some really brilliant teachers, and if you want to know, there are some great doctors out there, guys. There's some people that have dedicated their life to research. I'm not a researcher, but I've learned from researchers, and I've learned from people that have dedicated their life to figuring this stuff out. And I've just had some very good opportunities to learn from some brilliant people. So I don't want to take the credit. This is not my original. I didn't discover this, guys. This is the brilliance of other doctors. I'm the cliche you hear, I stand on the shoulders of giants. That's exactly what this is. They're brilliant people out there that are learning this information, and I just happen to have had an opportunity to learn from a lot of them and continue to seek them out so that I can teach you guys and try to boil it down into something that you can understand and actually do something about. Let's see. Hi, Linda. Oh yeah, high estrogen's effect on cortisol and adrenaline. On cortisol for sure. So Linda, if you don't know, if you go to, and guys, I'm looking this way because there's I can see the comments here, but the camera's on my left. So Linda, if you go to my Facebook page, this page here that you're watching the stream off of, if you go to the videos tab, you can probably search, and if you just search adrenal and thyroid, or estrogen and thyroid, you're going to find, I do a whiteboard video. I don't have a whole lot of whiteboard videos, but there's a whiteboard video that I do where I talk about a concept called a pregnenolone steal. And basically all your steroid hormones are connected. So progesterone, cortisol, your DHEA, your testosterone, all your estrogens, your estrone, estradiol, estriol, those are all connected. And different metabolic processes in the body, like inflammation or high insulin levels from higher blood sugar, all these things can affect the way that those hormones are converted and utilized. So I'm not positive, but that video is pretty comprehensive. It's really, I think it's a pretty good video that explains that, and a lot of the different things that can affect and cause your steroid hormones to break down, or you to have an overproduction of testosterone or estrogen, or deficiencies in those as well. Okay, so what's going on? Okay, so let's see. It's so one of the questions is, I wake up tired even when I have a good night's sleep. Okay, guys, that's usually a sign of higher adrenal function, usually higher adrenals, because you're not resting, you're not getting you're not getting the right type of sleep, right? Your brain's not getting into these very important cycles of sleep, so you're not recovering well. You're staying more in REM sleep. You're not getting into these deeper stages of sleep, so your body doesn't recover as well. That's one possible reason. Here's another thing, guys. I don't know if you know this, but do does anyone here, you tell me, I want you to comment if you do, does anyone here know what the cycle, one sleep cycle is? How long is one sleep cycle? Anyone post it in the comments. How long is one sleep cycle? Does anyone know? Because we're going to answer a question here. We're going to talk, because I'm going to give you guys a real cool tip. I think it's cool. I'm going to give you like time increments to sleep. Okay. So what's a sleep cycle? Anyone know? Post comments down here if you can. Let's see. It's gonna. Let me give you a hint, guys. It's 40 minutes. Okay. Jessica says 40 minutes. Close. Samantha, 8 hours. Well, this is so 8 hours. Samantha might actually be the time frame, like a good amount of time to sleep. But you have cycles of sleep, right, where you go through REM sleep and these different phases of sleep. Okay, 8 hours, 2 hours, 30 minutes. Close. I'm gonna tell you guys, it's more than an hour. Okay, I'll tell you that. So, okay, I think I got it here. Doris Penn says 90 minutes. Great job. Vicky, 90 minutes. Exactly. So one sleep cycle is 90 minutes that it takes your body to go through all the phases of sleep. Okay. So think about this. If you're going to go to sleep, you want to try to schedule when you go to sleep and when you wake up to end at the end of a 90-minute cycle. Don't wake up in the middle of a 90-minute cycle, right? So if it's 90 minutes, then you're going to get 2 sleep cycles in what? 3 hours, right? Because that's going to, so it should be 90-minute cycles that will give you, 2 90-minute cycles will give you 3 hours. So 4 90-minute cycles will give you what? That's going to be 6 hours, right? So typically what we know is that you need about 35 of those sleep cycles per week. Okay, so it's like 7.5 hours or something like that, I believe. So what you want to try to do, though, guys, is great job on the 90 minutes, awesome work. What you want to try to do is you want to try to schedule your sleep so that you go to sleep and you wake up at that 90-minute cycle, and that's really at the end of that 90-minute cycle. If you wake up in the middle, you might feel more groggy. It might take you longer to wake up. So 90-minute cycles. Okay. Thank you for the wow, Samantha. Appreciate the love. So I really appreciate you guys and your questions. Great feedback, great stuff here. And please do give me some thumbs up and some hearts if you don't mind. And guys, Pauline, thank you and you guys for sharing this video, because think about this, guys. How many people get this information? Like very, very few people get this kind of information. So share our videos so that other people can figure out what's going on. There's so many people that have low thyroid symptoms, but their labs are normal, and they're not autoimmune. They don't even have Hashimoto's, so they don't even have a clue why they feel the way they do. And guess what these people end up on? Anyway, guys, tell me what doctors tend to give. Thank you for all the hearts and the thumbs up, guys. I really appreciate all that. Can you guys tell me what do most people end up, as far as a prescriptive medication, end up with when they go into their doctor and they say, I feel terrible. The doctor checks their thyroid and their thyroid hormone, and it's normal, and they say, well, I still feel bad, and the doctor's like, well, everything looks good. What does the person end up with? Tell me in the comments, like, what do people end up with, guys? I know y'all know, because I know you've been given this. Like, what do they end up with? Just in the comments, post, like, what do people, you go to your doctor and you have, you feel bad, but they check everything and say everything's fine, your thyroid's fine. What prescription do they automatically jump to hand you? Oh, it's going crazy. Yes, you guys are exactly right. I see the comments now. So Linda was the first one. Linda says antidepressants. Absolutely, absolutely, guys. That's what happens. And so how much? Oh, what was it? I was reading. That's a great point. Maybe I talked about it in yesterday's video, where I talked about leaky gut and I talked about the inflammatory process that occurs with those bacterial toxins, those LPSs, the lipopolysaccharides. I know I read it where they were saying that these increased levels promoted what they called refractory depression. Guys, think about all this, right? You guys, I don't know if you guys know this, but do you guys know that there's been research done where people that have depression, they give them T3, which is the physiologically active hormone, and a lot of those people tend to improve that have depression with T3 medication. So why is that? Right? Why is that? I mean, there's this direct connection with your thyroid hormone levels, your thyroid hormone sensitivity and physiology. and depression. Absolutely, absolutely. And so, I'm not saying that antidepressants aren't valuable, because I think they are. I think, guys, we have to look at all the tools that are available, and we have to say, all right, what's necessary to help this person? And just because I have a model and I talk about being naturally healthy, that's great and all. But if someone needs like some serious acute rescue help, this is probably a slower process than taking an antidepressant, right? So I'm just going to tell you that I'm not anti any kind of medicine or anything. I'm pro the person. I'm for the person. I want the person to be healthy, and whatever that means, whatever they need, then that's what they need. But so I'm definitely for addressing causes, though, and working to be healthy, because I do have the belief that the body is self-healing. And I mean, it's obvious, guys. Cut your hand. Don't cut your hand, but if you cut your hand, right, you scratch your hand and it bleeds, it will stop bleeding on its own. And with time, it heals on its own. The body is always working to self-preservation, to heal itself in everything. Everything. So everything is an adaptation to your environment, in whatever's happening. Your body is working to keep you alive and preserve your health, always. So it's your best friend. So work with it and not against it. Okay? So hope that helps. But great job on the antidepressants, guys. I knew that you guys would know that because you are so smart, but also because a lot of you have been there, unfortunately. And hopefully that has helped you. But hopefully, some of these things that I'm teaching you will help you to uncover a lot of processes that could be contributing to you not feeling well. So I really hope it does help you guys quite a bit. Okay, let's see. Hey, so Mickey says that she did her antibodies blood draw today. So yes, we do. We do antibody testing. Mickey said so. Mickey had antibodies testing, guys. We do antibody testing for people, and you can get your blood drawn around the country. In the United States, we can't really get it outside of the country, but in the United States, in most states except New York and Rhode Island, and I keep saying this on every video. And I think there's some other states. I need to figure out what those are so I can tell you guys accurately. But there's just most of the states you can get your blood drawn at a local LabCorp, and we can get that done. We can get that done for you guys. You just have to go to our website and you can click on get your antibodies checked. Okay. So hopefully that helps you guys out. It's really helpful to rule in and out Hashimoto's, because most of the time that's what we're talking about, getting your thyroid antibodies checked. It's very helpful to rule out Hashimoto's or autoimmunity against your thyroid. That's really, really important, because that's a driving cause of inflammation that can create a lot of issues, and most doctors won't check it because it doesn't change their treatment plan. And quite frankly, it's not because their doctors are bad people. It's because the insurance companies will not pay for it, and the doctor is responsible for, if they order that, they can actually literally get in trouble. If they're an employee, their employers say, you know what, that's not considered medically necessary. Why did you do that? That's not going to change anything you do with that person to check for antibodies against their thyroid. You're still going to give them thyroid hormone replacement. So why in the world would you check this and cause an added expense? And guess what? The insurance company is going to say the same thing to that doctor. And guess what? That doctor's going to have to, or the practice or the hospital is going to have to, they're at risk at paying some of that stuff back. And do you know that if you do that on a regular basis, you can actually be accused of fraud? Did you know that? Doctors can be, so when you go into your doctor's office and you think why won't they run these tests? They're and the doctors, you know what, I'm not making excuses for bad bedside manner. You guys know that I've talked about that before. That's not an excuse. But these are some of the stresses that they have, and it's unbelievable stress. And you're just trying to do the best that you can for people, and when people come at you with all these different ideas, and now with this availability of information, and they hear people like me talk, you guys hear people like me talk, and then you go in there with these ideas I can't wait to share this, we're going to do this and do that. It's not as easy as it should be. But I just want to discuss that for a second. Let's see. Okay. Just taking a look at some more of the comments, guys. It's 4 o'clock. Okay. In East Coast. Hi, Linda. Hi, Rose again. Awesome. Hi, Martine, Jessica, Susie. Treat the cause, not the symptom. Absolutely. Hi, Robin. Robin, can I cover functional medicine for Hashimoto's? That's Robin. yes, but I'll tell you that's all I do. That's like everything that I'm talking about is really functional medicine for Hashimoto's, or functional medicine in general for health. But yeah, I'm really all about the functional medicine approach, which is basically root cause resolution. That's what it is. Functional medicine is really root cause resolution medicine. It's looking to find drivers of processes, optimize the person's health, and not really treat a condition. So yeah, Robin said, can you cover functional medicine for Hashimoto's? If you look at any of my videos, if you go to here on the office of Dr. Brad Shook, you can go to a videos tab. I don't know how many videos there are there, but I know we have well over 200 videos on the functional medicine approach to Hashimoto's, guys. I might talk about hormones, I might talk about cortisol, but every bit of it is something that you have to think about and look up. Thanks for all the hearts and loves, guys. I appreciate that. Thank you. So I hope that helps you understand. This is all functional medicine. That's what I do. I practice functional medicine. So I want you guys to know, yes, that's all I'm going to teach you guys. That's what helped me, right? That's exactly what helped me with all these digestive problems I had since I was 13, psoriasis, which I can thankfully say I'm completely in remission of. Looks a little scaly, but it's not. But I'm completely in remission of psoriasis, and then also I have antibodies against thyroglobulin, which you guys, if you know anything about, if you guys have been following me at all, you know that we typically check TPO and thyroglobulin antibodies. So I have antibodies against thyroglobulin, but my thyroid hormones are normal, so that's called euthyroid, meaning there's no pathology to the gland, you have normal output, but there's an autoimmune process. And you could call it euthyroid Hashimoto's, or I could say I have an autoimmune process against my thyroid, which is what I usually say. Okay, so functional medicine is what has saved me. It's what I think is going to add years to my life and to so many other people. I try to teach it all that I can because I think it is the future of healthcare, and I think we need to have a full integration of our current allopathic approach with functional medicine on every single person. It would cut the cost of healthcare dramatically. But, and I don't know, guys. I don't sit and ponder conspiracies much, but I will tell you, there's a lot less money. Like I could take someone. I can't say I can take them, but let me give you a scenario. What if you had someone that was diabetic, right? That was on all these medications, that had neuropathy, which is nerve damage due to blood sugar fluctuations. They were losing their eyesight. They were having multiple surgeries because their circulation was damaged so bad that they had to have toes removed and then amputations. The cost of this healthcare over a lifetime can be unbelievably high, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. And then end-of-life care, like intensive care unit, unbelievable cost. Think about this, guys. All the stuff we talk about here, like all the tests and everything that I talk about, the full workup. What if this is a person? Let's say healthcare is by end of life $500,000 due to diabetes for one person. What if I had an opportunity to work with this person earlier in their life, and the insurance companies gave us $10,000 to do every test under the sun, buy the supplements for the person, do nutritional coaching with them, and what if they even gave us more money? What if they gave us $10,000, $20,000? What if they gave us $30,000 and said, you know what? Let's even buy this person's food. Let's get their food made for them and delivered to their house. Now, the problem is you have to have people that be motivated to do it, right? That's one of the problems, is that people, if they're not motivated to take care of themselves, nothing that you can give them will make any difference. That's kind of the rub, too. In the U.S., and I guess around the world, we live in this society where people want instant gratification. So a lot of the things that we're talking about here, they're not instant gratification. You have to really want to be healthy. So that's why, we have like 42 people watching, right? That's why we don't have like 400,000 people watching, is because the issue with this instant gratification. People want to know how to be healthy, and there's a lot of people that do. I mean, I realize that, but a lot of people just want to take something. They don't even want to think about it. Do you know how many people have said, I mean, it's not as many as it used to be, but how many people said, you know what, I'm going to die anyway. Why would I do that? Why would I do that? You're going to do all this, and then something's going to happen, and you don't know when you're going to die anyway, so why don't you just enjoy your life? You know what? I am enjoying my life. This is called trying to live an optimally healthy life where I'm vibrant, I have energy, I sleep well. It's easy to say, you're gonna die anyway. Why change your life? Why try to make a difference when you feel okay, right? When you feel okay. When you don't feel well, then make that statement. People will just want to feel better. Give me 50% better, and people would love to have 50% improvement. So I just, that really kind of, that it's perspective, and I kind of digress here. Okay, let's see, what other comments we have, guys? Appreciate all the thumbs and the hearts. Really appreciate that, and all the comments too. I appreciate your questions. I'm trying to answer them here. So some people so Stella was saying, hey, I'm on thyroid medication, 60 probably micrograms, and I feel awful. You know what, guys, you really have to look at all the thyroid physiology, like some of the things I talked about. Inflammatory markers, look for anemia, look for blood sugar dysregulation, look at the thyroid markers like reverse T3, T3 uptake. Look at everything that you can, and then also your symptoms are really, really important to help you understand what could be driving this process, because everything's connected. The more that I learn, the more I realize the gut's connected, the brain's connected. All these things, the immune system has impacts on the nervous system, the endocrine system, the digestive system. Everything is connected. Your adrenal gland function impacts your hormones. Your hormones impact your thyroid hormone sensitivity. If thyroid hormone sensitivity is down, it's a cascade of problems. That's why you have to survey what's going on, and you have to try to make the simplest changes possible to have the greatest impact. It's not, or else you just chase a symptom. So Stella, I'm sorry I can't tell you what's going on there. I don't know, but I can just tell you that it's going to be, there's something else that's not right. Your thyroid, listen, there are 24 different ways that thyroid physiology can dysfunction that we know of. So that's a huge amount. Thyroid hormone quantity is 1. Okay, it's just 1. So all these things I'm teaching you guys about are expanding on these other 24 ways that your thyroid can dysfunction, right? So I'm trying to teach you ways that if you make changes, it might really help you improve your health. Let's see, guys. There's a bunch of comments. Thank you for your interest. I'm trying to answer it. I refuse to check. Yeah, Samantha says, hey, yeah, my doctor refused to check TPO. Absolutely. That's exactly right. But if you need your thyroid antibodies checked, guys, we can do those for you, and there's no patient appointment required for that. We can just get a blood draw, and we do a consultation after those are drawn. Let's see. Bonnie says, hey, if I don't have a thyroid, do I still need to get the antibodies checked? No. Here's the thing. If you don't have a thyroid, then let's say if you knew you were autoimmune before, right? So guys, think about this for a second. What is the number one cause of hypothyroidism or thyroid dysfunction in the United States? It's Hashimoto's. Of all the people that are hypothyroid, that have low thyroid function, what percentage of those people are hypothyroid, like low thyroid function, because of Hashimoto's? So what percentage of the people that are hypothyroid because of Hashimoto's? 90%. 9 out of 10 people have a thyroid problem because of Hashimoto's, because of an autoimmune process, right? So Bonnie says, if I don't have a thyroid, do I still need to get the antibodies checked? Well, listen, if you had the thyroid removed, but you had antibodies to it before, if it was actually positive, and you know that they were positive at one point in time, then there's no reason to check for antibodies because, for one, when the thyroid's removed, the target's gone. So the immune system's not going to be responding to the thyroid anymore. So your antibodies, it's kind of like you've removed the target from the immune system. But, and this is a very big but, the autoimmune process continues. So whatever was triggering and driving the immune system that was causing it to react to the thyroid gland or to your TPO or thyroid peroxidase, it's still in place. Like you might still be reacting to foods, you might still have bacteria, you might still have chemical issues or something that's going on that's driving that immune system process. So antibodies maybe not, unless if you know you're autoimmune, then you need to research the drivers of the autoimmune process, primarily partially digested food proteins, chronic infections, and environmental chemicals, and then even looking at cortisol and hormone levels are really important. So I hope that helps. I know it's just like, okay, that's a ton of stuff, I know, but I don't know what else to tell you. But so the antibodies checked, not against the thyroid, but if you want to know if you're autoimmune, you can get like Cyrix labs I use for my immunological testing, primarily use them. They have an array number 5 called the multiple tissue autoimmune screen, multiple tissue screen. Anyway, it looks at 24 or 29 different tissues to see if your immune system's attacking them. So it's a great way if someone comes to me and they're like, hey, I've got these all these problems going on. We don't really know what's happening. It's kind of a mystery. That's going to be a good place to start, because you can screen for immune reactivity to the tissues of the body, and see if autoimmunity is at the root cause of it. Okay, so let's see. Hey Rose, Linda, does the reverse free T3 calculation work if one is in nanograms per deciliter and the other is in PG? What is that? It's a percentage. You know what? That's a good question. I'll look that up, and I'll post a video or something on that, really specifically about the units and how it's measured, because that's a really good question. I just know the labs that I use, and I think they're in nanograms. So I'll look at that. Thank you for bringing that up. Let's see. Thanks, Stella, for giving. Stella says, "Hey, come on, guys, let's give the doc a ton of thumbs up and hearts. How great is it spending time with me?" Well, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. If you guys feel inclined to do that, do give me hearts and thumbs. But I'd rather you share this with people that you know, so that other people can learn about it. You know, if you're going to do one thing, guys, just share this with people so that they can learn about this, because they can watch through these videos and they can see everything we're talking about for themselves, and they can start to put pieces together, and we can change the way that thyroid conditions are treated and addressed. So let's do that. Let's help other people. But I appreciate you so much for all the hearts and the thumbs up too. Really appreciate that. Martine, do I want to come to the UK? Would love to come to the UK. Would love to come to the UK. I will one day, for sure. For sure. I don't know if I'll be in a working capacity, but you know, guys, I don't know if you know this, but a lot of what I do is I do consulting with people all across the United States. We get labs done for them. We can get advanced labs done for them. So we do that. That's what we do most of the day. And then we do work with people outside of the country, but it is a bit more complicated when you're outside of the country as far as getting some labs. But we're working through and we're investigating how we can better do that now. We can get a lot of testing done outside of the U.S. We just have to send the test, and then it has to be sent back to the laboratory, either in the U.S. or in Europe, or wherever the lab is, the nearest lab that can process it, like an expedited service from you to them, so that the sample doesn't deteriorate at all. So yeah, we're working with people. I mean, I've worked with people all over the world. I've been very, very fortunate to be able to help people, and that it's very humbling when people from other countries call you and they're like, "Hey, you're the person that I think needs to help me." That's very, very humbling to think that someone's in a country and they can't find somewhere there to help them. But you know what? I've seen in the UK, and I've seen in France, Africa. And in some of the European countries, the other European countries, there's a really it's difficult to get some of these tests done. Like just getting reverse T3 ordered. One person that I worked with in, I think it was in France, her husband was a medical doctor there, and she went to a lab. Like he wrote the order for her, and they told her that they had not ordered reverse T3 in forever. Like they just never ever order it. So and that was her problem. Her reverse T3 was high, and it was primarily determined that it was because she was taking a high dose of medication, higher than. So here's the thing: a lot of what I find happening to a lot of people is they have high levels of inflammation that's impacting their body's ability to use their thyroid hormone, or they're taking so much thyroid hormone that they're flooding their body with it. They're producing more reverse T3 because the hormone that they're taking is being converted at a higher rate to reverse T3, and that's blocking their body's ability to use it. So I hope that makes sense, guys. Like those are two real common things I see. Inflammation is number one reason that I see, you know, what we call like a functional thyroid disorder. So it's not like their labs could look normal, but they still feel bad, right? So inflammation is number one. Number two is probably actually going to be high estrogens. So I see a lot of women that are either on birth control or they're taking anti-aging, you know, estrogen, and for perimenopausal or postmenopausal or for anti-aging purposes, and those estrogens being high impair their body's ability to use their thyroid hormone. And guys, if you don't know, like I have, if you go to the Office of Dr. Brad Shook, if you go to our videos tab, you can look at all the videos in there, and I do 6 whiteboard videos on the most common thyroid hormone patterns that I see, and I think they're pretty good. I draw out and I explain patterns 1 through 6. Those are the most common ones. So I talk about inflammation, I talk about estrogens, I talk about underconversion, I talk about a lot of things. I talk about high testosterone, pituitary suppression, where you might not make enough TSH, which is kind of something we touched on here. So there's a lot of videos that you guys can watch that will really, really help you out. So Candace says, hey, do you work with anyone that's in the fitness industry? I find it really difficult to find information on people that train hard and watch their macros. Is training hard weight training bad for someone? Let's see. Bad for someone with Hashimoto's? Is it too much stress for the body? Is it important to eat protein but less carbs and maybe more fat? Yeah, for sure. I've worked with some, pretty serious athletes that are not only in like bodybuilding, which have different metabolic demands, but also in they're more endurance athletes as well. So they have different metabolic demands, but yeah, I mean, here's the thing: if you're autoimmune, you got to be careful with overtraining, right? I mean, so cortisol is going to be one of the main things that you've got to watch out for with training. And you can use like heart rate variability, guys. I mean, have you studied that, Candace? Have you been exposed to that at all with like heart rate variability? So typically it's like you wake up in the morning and if your heart rate's higher, significantly higher, then you didn't recover well. And so that might be a reason to like not train that day. So yeah, I mean, I do. What you have to do is, there are different demands for sure. And so you have to kind of, it's better if you can, like when you're in that scenario, in that situation, to get a little bit more testing if possible, like so you can identify like what's pushing this along, especially if it's foods, because then if you're not reacting to certain foods, then you can incorporate them into your diet, and that might be beneficial, like to have some grains if you're like doing bodybuilding, for example. Maybe. I mean, I exercise a lot. I love fitness a lot. That was my first passion, but. And I do mainly like weight training, but that's something like I have a whole, that's I've got my own processes there. Like but yeah, long story short, Candace, yes, is it important to eat more protein but less carbs, maybe more fat? Yeah, I'm actually. It depends on what your goals are, right, with your training, but you need to vary the diet based on what your demands are, but you want to also understand what the chemistry is, because if the diet's promoting inflammation or spiking cortisol, you have to come up with strategies. So there's sometimes you can utilize different supplementation to help improve recovery. Like that's a I will tell you, like, I'm not an advocate of taking a lot of supplements, but I take a lot of supplements especially because of my weight training and recovery. So I use like systemic enzymes that you take away from food. I use things that help to improve acetylcholine receptors, so I get better mental focus and muscular contraction. I use creatine, and creatine is huge for mitochondrial function. What all else do I take? I'm going to take B vitamins. I'm trying to think of some things that might be more unusual. I mean, I do take some ashwagandha, which is an adrenal adaptogen, so it helps me with blunting cortisol production. I do nutrient timing, Candace. So and you're probably familiar. You might be familiar with that, but I do nutrient timing. So, like after I worked out this morning, I did weight training this morning. I used about 8 ounces of pomegranate juice, which is high glycemic, right? I wouldn't recommend that for most people, but my body's healthy enough that I can do this. So I depleted, when I exercised with weights, I depleted blood sugar from my muscles. So I wanted to replenish the glycogen in my muscles, so I added creatine with this about 8 ounces of pomegranate juice, which is very high in antioxidants, which help to blunt some of the free radicals and cellular damage that I did from stressing my muscles. I drank that. I went, took a shower, waited about 30 minutes, and then I ate another meal that was higher in complex carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. Okay? So that way, what I did by spiking my blood sugar after I worked out with a high glycemic drink like pomegranate juice and creatine is that I spiked my blood sugar, I spiked my insulin, which drives insulin. Remember, insulin drives the sugar in your blood into your cells. And by mixing the creatine with it, I help to shuttle creatine into my cells too and help with recovery. Okay, so that's probably more than you guys want to know. But Candace, yes. Martine, yes. A lot of times I don't recommend, like most of the people that I work with at the very beginning, I don't recommend that they exercise. If they do exercise, I want them to do something gentle, like walking or yoga. And by the way, if you guys are interested in yoga, Andy, who is she's a yogi and she's a metabolic coordinator in my office. We're going to start doing some, we're going to try to do a live yoga session with you guys and show you some things that you can do. They're awesome. It's so good. I need to be practicing yoga. I really do. When I practice yoga regularly, I felt so different. It's such a great practice. And then Alicia, who is a metabolic coordinator in my office as well. She is all about food. She likes essential oils, and they have both of those. Both those ladies have tons of knowledge. I'm so lucky that they're here with me because they keep everything working and they're amazing. Alicia's going to be doing some things with actually cooking and recipes, and we're gonna be trying to do some extra things to really help you guys out as much as possible. So, yeah, Martine, I was just going to say, a lot of people I don't have them exercising other than like gentle walking, maybe some stretching and yoga, because it's very easy when you're hypothyroid and you have metabolic problems. It's very easy to not recover well, right? To have a lot of difficulty recovering. It's very easy to stimulate a stress response and spike your cortisol, and then you feel terrible. Guys, a good rule of thumb with exercise is this: when you finish exercising, if you feel wiped out and like you need to go lay down, you've overtrained. Okay, you've overtrained. If you feel energized and like your brain's on and you can feel the blood flow and the blood's pumping and you're like, man, I feel so much better, I feel so great, then that's the right amount. But as soon as you cross that threshold to where you feel wiped out and like you need to lay in bed the rest of the day, you've overtrained. So I hope that helps. Okay. Renee Snow Richardson says, do you care for parathyroids? No, I do not, but I am always thinking about the parathyroid glands. So whenever I order labs, I'm always looking at calcium. If I see calcium, and I have someone that's Hashimoto's, if I see calcium that's like around 10, that might not even be lab high, I'm thinking parathyroids, there might be an issue. So guess what I do? I refer you to Norman Parathyroid Clinic in Tampa, Florida. You don't have to go there, but you can look on their page. I think they're one of the best clinics in the world. Norman Parathyroid Clinic in Tampa, Florida. So if you've got a parathyroid issue, so here's the thing: if I see calcium that's closer to 10, then that might be a good time to say, all right, hey, this is high. Let's check and see if you have high parathyroid hormone levels, and we could send you back to the lab and get parathyroid hormone checked. Okay, that would be. And if PTH, parathyroid hormone levels are high, it could be that there's a parathyroid tumor. Typically those are benign, but listen, guys, if you have a tumor of a gland, it tends to cause the gland to put out more hormone. Okay, so that would be the thing to do there. I hope that answers your question, Renee. If you haven't seen them, Norman Parathyroid Clinic, you'll really get a lot of information, good information from them. Just go, protein. Let's see, Robin. Thoughts about acupuncture for Hashimoto's? I mean, I've heard great things about it. I've heard great things about acupuncture. I definitely have heard great stuff about it. I don't know a lot about it, but it seems to be a good thing from what I hear and what I understand. So it depends on what the goal is. I mean, really, guys, I want to. I don't know if I want to get into this, but I want to share something with you. When you think about any type of therapy that you have done, right? Let's say acupuncture, for example. How does that help? What I always try to think of is, okay, if something, what is it? Like I said earlier, I want to be a better physiologist. So when we talk about how does acupuncture help Hashimoto's or autoimmunity or anything? Well, what is the mechanism? I try to think it through. What is the mechanism? How does acupuncture physiologically change and improve your symptoms, your condition, right? And guys, I know there's a lot of stuff we don't understand, so please don't take it the wrong way. I always try to think that through, and if I can't identify that, or if I don't know that in my mind, then then I just say I don't know pretty much. But so I don't know the mechanisms behind acupuncture. I know there's a lot of research going on. There's probably a lot that there's already out there that I'm not aware of. But you know, when I think about acupuncture, I think of it as a receptor-based therapy. A lot of you guys are like, what are you talking about? Right? What is a receptor-based therapy? Okay, so if you think of your nervous system, right? Your brain's here. You've got your spinal cord, and then branching off are all these nerves, and they go everywhere, right? They go into your hands or all over your face. The nerves are everywhere. They're all through the ears. So whenever you put a needle into someone's skin at any point, what do you think happens to those nerves? They're stimulated, right? You're firing the nerves. And if the needle stays stuck in the back, right? The acupuncture needle's there. Then what it's going to do is it's going to constantly stimulate those nerves. And what do those nerves do when they're stimulated? The receptors, the ends of the nerves, they fire signals to the brain. So guess what happens in the brain? You light up the brain like a light bulb with that therapy. And those needles, they stay in there. They're stimulating through the nerves, the brain, like a light bulb. If you could see the electrical energy, it's probably just going off all over the place. Now, depending on where you stick that needle in the body, it's going to stimulate a different area of the brain. Okay? Have you guys heard of functional neurology? Anyone heard of functional neurology? So I've got some training in functional neurology. I need to be practicing it probably every day here, but we have so many people that just need help with the metabolic side. I don't. So functional neurology is basically this branch of neurology that looks at the brain and tries to improve areas of the brain where the nerve cells may not be firing and working efficiently. Okay? So guess what? If you put a needle in someone's back or their body at a certain point, you might be stimulating nerves that light up an area of the brain that needs stimulation. And by doing that, you'll improve the entire network and firing of the brain that can improve autonomic nervous system function. Autonomic nervous system has two divisions, sympathetic and parasympathetic. That's the fight and flight and the rest and digest system. So if you're a person that's constantly stressed out, you're producing a lot of cortisol, you're in fight or flight mode all the time, you go and lay down on that table. That by itself is going to help relax you and calm down your sympathetic response, maybe lowering your cortisol, improving your sensitivity to your thyroid hormone. Also, when they start using the needles, they might be lighting up areas of the brain that need stimulation. That lighting up and that firing of neurons in the brain can improve, that may be enough to improve the neuron connectivity, and you improve or you induce plasticity into that area of the brain, making those neurons more efficient. And everything works in circuits in the brain. It's not just like one nerve. I mean, they all fire together in chains, and basically that may improve your stress response. That's called functional neurology. You guys, if you don't know, that is a hugely beneficial type of approach to health. I learned what I know primarily from Datis Karazian, who is the guy that's written Why Do I Still Have Thyroid Symptoms? When My Lab Tests Are Normal. He's a guy that I've learned so much from, and he's written this book, Why Isn't My Brain Working Now? See, this is where the camera's facing me. Datis's book, amazing book. This guy, you guys, what you're learning from me, you owe to Datis. Have you seen his? You guys know his brain book? I mean his thyroid book. This is his thyroid book. If you don't have this, go get this. I promise you. 2009. If you don't have this, go get it. It says, "Why do I still have thyroid symptoms when my lab tests are normal?" And it's yeah, you can't read. It's Karazian, okay? Datis Karazian. Guys, check it out. If you want to know how I approach the thyroid, that's going to cover it in the greatest detail. I mean, I've learned from a lot of other people, but primarily what I've learned from Datis is influences how I work with people. Got to go to work. All right, Martine. Hi, Samantha. Hey, Alicia. Hope you're doing well today. Susie. Okay, let's see. Wow, comments. Guys, thank you for all the hearts and thumbs. I appreciate them. Hey, Randy, I hope you're doing well, buddy. You just got your book today. That's an awesome book, man. It will help you out so much. So much for your time, sharing education, learn something. Really appreciate you. You guys are so welcome for all this. Thank you for all the hearts and loves and thumbs up and sharing this with people, because everybody needs to know this. Love yoga and hot yoga. Lily, that sounds awesome. I would love to try some of the hot yoga. Lily said she loves yoga and hot yoga. That sounds amazing. I like the sauna a lot. I think hot yoga would probably be awesome because sometimes when I'm in there and my body temperature gets warmed up, I like to move and stretch, and it just feels so good. So hot yoga would probably be amazing. Would be so good. Awesome, Randy. Glad your gut's doing better, man. I'm so happy to hear that. Please do keep sharing your updates with me and join me as much as you can on here. Gluten-free diet, Susie. Yes, gluten-free is really helps a lot of people. What are my thoughts on? Samantha says, what are my thoughts on licorice for adrenals? As long as it's the licorice that is well deglycerinated, so it has the deglyceriza removed. Or the glyceriza, it has the glyceriza removed, so it's deglycerinated. It's out of there. That is that's usually good. The glyceriza in licorice can sometimes stimulate the immune system and cause people to have a reaction. Now, for adrenals, there's a few things here, guys. So, a lot of people have low blood pressure, right? That have low thyroid function, or that I work with. So, if they have low blood pressure, what are some of the things that we might do? Can anyone? And yes, I'm going to talk. This revolves around licorice too, Samantha. Can anyone tell me? So, if someone has like lower blood pressure, and let's say it's not pathological, right? We're trying to figure out how can we improve blood pressure with their hypothyroidism, and let's say everything's been tried. They're taking thyroid hormones. They're doing everything they can do. But their blood pressure's low. And blood pressure is extremely important, guys, right? That's why when you have hypothyroidism, the hands tend to be cold, the nose is cold. Why there's hair loss? It's the number one cause for the hair loss because you're not getting blood to the scalp to feed the hair follicles. So what are some things we can do to try to help improve blood pressure, guys? Can anyone share with me? Anyone have any suggestions? What can we try to do to improve blood pressure, right? Okay, so if we want to raise it, right, with hypothyroidism, someone has low blood pressure. One of the things that we might do, and a lot of people will say, is consume salt, right? Salt. I used to say that all the time. Now I say it a lot less because I learned last year that salt can stimulate an inflammatory response in the gut and promote autoimmunity. Yeah, even your Himalayan salt, even all of the salts. So it's not necessarily that it's bad, but you got to know this, guys. It promotes Th17 activity. That's T helper 17 activity, which we know drives the inflammatory process and can promote autoimmunity. Salt. But if we want to raise blood pressure, some salt might be okay, right? But licorice can actually help to reduce the clearance of sodium via the kidneys. So that can help to increase blood pressure. So adrenals, their question was about adrenals. Might we use licorice? Maybe, yeah, maybe. I use it some. I do use it some. It just depends on the person and what's going on. So I hope that makes sense. Just got the brain one from the library. Nice work, Stella. It's a great book. I mean, it's an awesome book. I've got copies and copies of these books around for my staff to read. We lend them out to people that are in the office. I've got several copies at home. I mean, I've probably got like 3 copies of these books just in my site. Hi in Croatia, welcome. Hopefully you're able to watch this, or maybe you were with me the whole time, but welcome. B12, yeah, Kathy, B12 can be reasonable for adrenal function. You really have to look at the adrenals and figure out. Listen, guys, if you have, I'm going to do a video on this. I thought about it, but I haven't had a chance to think about how I'm going to lay it out. But adrenal gland dysfunction is always secondary to something else. Right? So if you have adrenal gland problems, the adrenals are never the problem. It's always there's something that's secondary to. There's inflammation, there's autoimmunity, there's something else, there's emotional stress that is secondary. They change in response to something else. So just keep that in mind. If you have adrenal problems, that's in response to something else. There's something else that's driving the adrenal issue. Yeah, and you might want to support the adrenals, but if you don't address what's causing it, it's a futile battle, guys. No, Susie. Yeah, great question. So when I was talking about the adrenals, like what might we do to improve blood pressure? And Susie said salt increase. And you know what? That's what I've always done and always used. And I'm going to be, guys, I'm going to be completely honest with you with what I do. I do consume salt. I haven't eliminated it, but I did learn last year from a very intelligent and very well respected professor that teaches functional medicine and is immersed in immunology. that salt is a trigger for an inflammatory response, and in a lot of people it can really cause gut inflammation. And he said if you're trying to raise blood pressure, you're better off to use licorice that will help to reduce the clearance of sodium from the bloodstream. And that way they retain more sodium, which helps to draw fluid, right? So that will draw that fluid into the vessels and can help to improve pressure. Let's see. Drink more water. Yeah, I mean, fluid volume is obviously important too, but the body should self-regulate a bit. Well, no, I mean, listen. So Samantha, you said your doctor's using licorice for adrenal fatigue. I guess that's not okay. I mean, it's like, okay, adrenal fatigue. Like, why is it there? Like, if you didn't uncover like root drivers of the process, then you can just be really frustrated. I mean, quite frankly, a lot of times viral issues and a lot of things can drive it, and so licorice might be appropriate. It might be appropriate. Sherry asked about licorice, like what kind. I have, I don't know the exact brand that I use, but I use I believe it's a sublingual like tincture of it. That's through our online nutraceutical dispensary. It's in there. I don't know the exact brand, but I did a lot of research on the different supplements that were available and got the ones that I thought would pick the ones that were best. Lots of comments, guys. Thank you for all the comments. Shirley says, what can you do at home to help lower inflammation? The number one thing you can do is change diet. Number one. That's the main thing you can do is change diet. If you're not doing like an autoimmune paleo diet, that's a great place to start. For people that have Hashimoto's, we have like a transformation program. It's basically my dietary approach that we've used and refined for several years in combination with lifestyle and supplemental recommendations. It's a 6-week program. We have a private Facebook support group with it. There's a lot of stuff. So if you guys are interested in any of that, I'll be happy to share that where you can learn more. Let's see. Yeah, Rose, water, if you drink too much water, you can actually, you'll flush your electrolytes, which you don't want to do. So you're right. There's a balance with everything. Okay, so Cheryl says that she was treated with extreme antibiotics that stripped her gut bacteria and caused ulcers throughout her intestinal tract. She's in constant pain. How do I recover? Now, Cheryl, I can't say exactly how to do this, but let me just tell you, like in similar cases, how I might have approached something like that with another patient. Okay, so what I would consider doing with other patients in a similar situation is that I would probably try using things to support healing the gut wall, like L-glutamine, probably slippery elm bark. I know it's a bark of a tree. It was actually the first thing I discovered that helped me with my gut issues. These are things that are going to help thicken and heal the gut wall. You can use I believe marshmallow root is one as well. But these are herbs and amino acids. L-glutamine is an amino acid. I would use zinc carnosine. You may even want to consider using colostrum. Colostrum can be very beneficial. Now it does come from milk, but there's some great companies. Like if you go to, you can get access to. We'll give you access to our online nutraceutical dispensary, and I have like a whole categories with all these things in there. And we have colostrum too that can really help to seal the gut wall and give it what it needs to nourish it and repair it. You might also, in a similar case, I might give butyrate. Butyrate is a short chain fat, and I would take a lot of probiotics. So I'd probably use a high potency probiotic. I use one through Orthomolecular or VSL3 that are really high concentrations. You're not going to find anything like that typically at the store. They're going to be like 100 or 100 billion, 250 billion colony-forming units, where if you get something from the store, it's usually like 60, at the most, or 20 billion colony-forming units. You want really high-dose probiotics, which are good bacteria, that will help to replenish the gut bacteria and help improve the environment. I would consider stuff like bone broths. Yeah, I mean, those are things that are nourishing and that are healing, that would help to soothe and be easier to digest. And as the gut repairs, you want foods that are really high in vitamins, minerals, and nutrients that you can digest. You might want some digestive enzymes. I would probably use something like that in a similar case. Maybe some digestive enzymes, maybe. At first, though, with ulcers, you just want to do the best you can to try to heal and repair them. So stuff like that is actually, you know, what I've done in similar cases. So I hope that helps you, Cheryl. You guys are so welcome. Well, here's the deal, guys. So it is, I've probably been on here like it's been an epic Facebook Live, hasn't it? I have so many things I need to do. I have so many things I need to do. But I love teaching you guys and trying to help you better understand these problems. If you would, please do. Give me a lot of thumbs up, give me a lot of hearts, and please share this with other people so that they can become empowered, become their own advocates, and take their health back. They can be better partners. I mean, think about the difference that we can make if we help one person at a time with this type of information. We empower them. We are going to be able to, change the lives of so many people, their communities, their families, and really just make the world a better place. I mean, it's a great thing. So I really appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for all the hearts. Thank you for all the thumbs up. I really appreciate it. Thank you for sharing it. Thank you for being on here and commenting and really just contributing and supporting us. So appreciate you a lot. I appreciate you guys. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Susie, good night. It's bedtime over there. It is almost 5. I know today's Friday, so my kids are going to be screaming and ready to go eat. They're going to be jumping up and down, so it's going to be a lot of fun. So I appreciate you guys so much, Sherry and Randy. Appreciate you a lot, Linda, Susie, Doris, Rose. Thank you for hanging out with me for so long, guys. Really appreciate you a lot. Appreciate you too, Alicia. Thanks for being in here and posting stuff. I definitely will. Well, I appreciate you guys. Have a great, great day, and I'll try to see you again tomorrow, maybe from my house if I have something I can share. Thanks. Hey guys, Dr. Shook, thank you for viewing our videos. I hope they help you out. If you want to, just subscribe to our channel somewhere here. You can watch a video that YouTube's actually selected for you, so hopefully it'll help you out. If you need any other information or resources, just look in the description. We've got links to our website, to our 9 lab test guidebook, and everything else that we do. I really appreciate you, and I hope you guys have a great